Oh, here's another great question coming in from another viewer. And this one's really quick and easy, so we'll jump into it right away. But the question is, why is PPE your first or last line of defense? Like, how should I look at this? Well, the answer here, Susan, is this. It is your last line of defense. See, Cal OSHA, federal OSHA, they say that there are 3 ways to abate a hazard. The first is administrative controls, the second is engineering controls, and the last is personal protective equipment. Now, Cal OSHA and feds, they flip that back and forth, right? So they don't flip it, I flip it. They say engineering controls is the first thing you have to do. But really, the first thing that you have to do is determine whether or not you're in the business of doing it. That's the administrative control. That's the difference between safety and risk management. We look at, do we even want to be in this business to begin with? Is it relevant for us to be in there? So in the example of, let's say, welding, do I want to send my items out to be welded, or do I want to do it in-house? I can administratively control the hazard pretty easily by sending it out, and I don't have to deal with any of the welding issues. Engineering then comes in and says, well, if we do welding, then we need some type of mechanical ventilation. We need to make sure we have screens. We need to make sure we have all these other things in order to abate that hazard of poisonous plume, the smoke coming up, rising, the fumes rising, those types of things, and even the fire hazards and things like that. So if we determine that we're in the business of doing a particular project or a particular task or a particular operation, such as welding, well, we've lost the administrative control of it. Then we have to look at the engineering. Well, maybe we do put in mechanical ventilation, but the thing that we're welding produces a lot of fumes, and so we still need to take other actions to make sure that we're not sucking in those fumes, and that would be respiratory protection. So in that case, PPE, when a risk manager or a safety professional looks at the task, they do the job hazard analysis. They determine that you need leather gloves, that you need a respirator, and that you need tinted lenses in order to make this weld. They're telling you that we went through the process. We said we can't administratively control it, and the engineering isn't good enough to control what we need to control to keep you safe from the hazard. And so PPE becomes our absolute last line of defense. It's the difference between us going in and fighting something barehanded or having a sword and shield. And so when we look at that, we have to understand that when PPE is recommended or required, it is because those other 2 methods of abating a hazard, protecting against a hazard, are not adequate and or have failed, right? So this is the only option that we have. Think about it in the medical community. When we are facing, doing surgeries and operations, we have face shields. We're protecting ourselves against, monkey herpes. We're protecting ourselves against bloodborne pathogens that may be transmitted, things like that, right? And unfortunately, I believe it was one of the big private universities here in California, in Southern California, that the researcher did get monkey herpes by the blood being splashed into her eye. She went away from the last line of defense, which is PPE, and therefore ends up with this particular ailment. And that's not something we want to do. So great question. The bottom line is it's your last line of defense. You always have to use it when it's recommended or required, and it's the only way that you can protect yourself. So don't forego it, because again, your reaction time stinks. If the flying object's coming at me, I'm not going to be able to pick up my safety glasses and put them on in time to avoid that, right? So last line of defense, great question. Keep them coming. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.